Pat or Samsung online that have just joined into the meeting. Can you hear us? Anybody online? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sorry, we had a technical glitch. We lost connection there. Pardon all. Please continue. I'm sorry, Grace.
Okay, so we'll just talk about risk likelihood levels and risk consequence levels. And so as you can see, they're divided into rare, unlikely, possible, likely, and almost certain. So again, this is the likelihood of the event occurring. And then we look at our next slide, which is our risk consequence levels. And again, insignificant, minor, moderate, major, or catastrophic. I almost never get to use the word catastrophic, but you never know. So once we've determined the likelihood of the risk occurring in the matrix, there are categories that we weigh that risk up against. And again, deciding whether it's insignificant, minor, moderate, or major. And once we have done that, then you can look at the next slide, which is the colored matrix, and it will show you if a risk is almost certain and the consequences are insignificant or minor, then it's going to be a moderate risk. If it's possible, but it has insignificant consequences, it's going to be a low risk. So the community risk assessments are really statistic driven by what has happened and what the likelihood is of that occurring again. It's not really an opinion piece. It's all sort of laid out for us to follow. Once we've identified all those risks, we will develop risk treatment plans for each of those risks. And generally, we're looking at, is this a risk that we simply have to accept? Is this a risk that we can share with another agency? So some of that would be would apply to, say, a highway where the risk is shared with the MTO, or is this a risk that we need to mitigate? And then we will look at what's the best risk treatment plan to mitigate that particular risk. Sorry, I've moved ahead a few. And that is all of the presentation. So if there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to.
Thank you. I understand that this is, as was stated, this is a provincial requirement,
It
a
is.
governmental requirement. Yes, Councillor Hamilton.
I was just going to say thank you, and let's hope we're all in the green.
Through you, Madam Mayor, it's very unlikely that everything is always in the green, but it's really important that those risks, if they exist, are identified. And then you can look at what, how to mitigate them, what those risks are and what the risk treatment plan needs to involve. So it's not a scary process. It's actually a little bit of an enlightening process, I think. So it's very worthwhile. Very worthwhile.
And when does this start?
Well, right after tonight, we have already begun. The chief has begun to send us information. So I will be booking the tour of the neighborhood, as I call it, with him in the new year. And we will start developing the plan. So over the next couple of months, we'll be working on it. And then I expect we'll be ready to bring it back to council.
At a date?
I would say in about 2 months. So we're probably looking end of February, beginning of March to be on the council schedule.
Thank you.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. To Grace. Grace, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. Good presentation. I was just, and perhaps the staff as well, it would be good if any the final assessment could get back in advance of financial planning for FY24. So any recommendations can be considered or implemented in time for that budget.
And if I may, in the demographics section of the community profiles, you're looking at age, population, income population. How are you managing to retrieve all that information? Is that something that's going out to all the residents of Cranby? Are you getting that from Stats Canada? How do you retrieve that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, we do use Stats Canada statistics for that particular part of the information. So it will be 2021 Stats Can.
Councillor Van Egmond.
As somebody who really dislikes having been told by the government to do anything, how will this make our lives better? And how will this help Matt or help our services people? Whole bunch of this stuff is confetti. And although I like it at weddings, I don't care for it anywhere else. So it's just something that it seems to, every time the government says we have to spend some money or do something or do a risk management, it always seems like it suits somebody, but doesn't do a rat's ass for me.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for your comments, Councillor. It is my hope that what we will bring you is a real identification of where the risks lie in your community. And I agree with you. I think that the fire department could probably tell you some of those risks pretty easily. What are they responding to? But they're rarely looking at the whole picture. So I'm hoping what we will bring you is a complete look at your community, at how the fire service is responding to those risks, and make recommendation using the resources that exist. How can we help mitigate those risks a little bit more effectively? So I would give you an example of fire in residential occupancies, which seems to be prevalent in all municipalities. And although an awful lot of public education takes place, we seem to be unable to change human behavior. So how can we possibly mitigate the risk of fires in residential occupancies? One of the ways is to have an active smoke alarm program, to be out in the community, to be promoting that you must have working smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms in your home, to be doing that work, boots on the ground, and trying to mitigate that particular risk. Something like fire in commercial occupancies, fire in industrial occupancies. Really, we will look at what are the inspection statistics. So are regular inspections being done in those occupancies to ensure that they're code compliant? And if yes, then we will show that in the community risk assessment. If they're not being done, then we would recommend that a policy be put in place with a more regular inspection schedule of those types of occupancies.
Don't you dare come and look at my fire alarms.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All in favor?
Hi, Arthur.
I, Hamilton.
I, Scriver.
Van Egmond, aye.
Martin, aye. Resolution is carried. Thank you. Item 9 on the agenda, adoption of minutes. Be it resolved that council approve the minutes of items 9A through 9D. 9A is Committee of the Whole, October 10th, 2023. 9B is Committee of the Whole, November 14th, 2023. 9C is Council from October 24th, 2023. And finally, 9D, Council from November 28th, 2023. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Move Scriver.
Second, Hamilton.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Hi, Arthur.
I, Hamilton.
I, Scriver.
Van Egmond, aye.
Martin, aye. The resolution is carried. 10, recommendations from advisory committees. 10A, Committee of the Whole from December 5th, 2023 meeting. 10AA, the clerk's report. 10AA, the Little Lake boat launch. Cow report, clerks report 2023. Staff will need to utilize the Keeler Center based on the anticipation that there will be a large crowd. This will not allow for a hybrid meeting and will be in person only. However, All comments, questions, and concerns pertaining to the meeting can be submitted to the clerk's office for inclusion in the public meeting minutes. Be it resolved that council directs staff to hold a public meeting in January 2024 and report back to council in February of 2024. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? And then there can be comments.
Moved Hamilton.
Second, Arthur.
Any comments, questions?
Holly, what is the reason we can't have a hybrid? Like, I mean, we've done it before down there with the big crowd. So why can we not do it now? Can we not do what Janet just did now? Punch in here and have it so that we can,
Through you, Madam Mayor, to members of council. The cost to move the mic system is around $2,000. So outweighing that, to have staff in to run the Keeler Center and whatnot is also an added cost. I'm not saying that that isn't, that would be council's decision for weekdays, which has also been proposed. We just don't, we have to move the whole mic system in order for it to work through the TV and to record everything and make it an actual hybrid meeting. Just having Zoom on won't allow for people to comment back and forth that are online through everything. There's a couple of things here. Public meetings can operate in very different formats. If you've been to one for MTO, they set up everything along, people come in, they look, they get information, and they can, ask, write down any kind of question or concern. That's one option. Two would be more of a public format that we do for any type of land use that we have. We had one beforehand for the bylaw for fire, which is more of a controlled in terms of council can attend or not. There is a chair of the meeting, which I feel this one will warrant because there's going to be a lot of people that want to be heard. But it's not a time for debate. So I'm not too sure if the public's confused on that. It's more of a gathering when you have a public information is to gather information from the public of which way they want to go. There can be a question and answer period as there has been in terms of what's on the agenda. What I would recommend now, after having lots of people give comments that we had read out loud before, would be that the only option to do would be to hold 2 meetings. So we could have one in person at the Keeler Center, which would be after hours. We'd make it later, say like 6 to 8 sort of thing to accommodate people that work. And then the following day or week, we could have a hybrid and just an online meeting. This just won't facilitate everybody in this room. People will be lined up outside and it'll just be complete chaos. So our recommendation would be to hold 2 meetings then so that we can accommodate those online as well as people in person.
I think a contentious issue like this warrants the 2 meetings. Hate to put everybody more work, but we need people to have their input on this. Everybody already knows my view on it, but that's not going to cut it today. So I would like to see 2 meetings and go that route if that's possible. Just a suggestion.
Comments? Councillor Shriver?
I think that's a wonderful idea, Councillor Van Egmond.
See, we'll start a book on my face.
Okay, so is that the direction you would like to give to staff? So now, do we vote on this? Or do we do friendly
Friendly
amendment?
amendment, which council directs staff to hold 2 public meetings, 1 online, hybrid, 1 in person in January and report back in February.
Hybrid or totally online?
It's council's decision. Yeah, so we'll do 1 in person, 1 virtual only.
So is that a motion?
I didn't make the motion. So I can't do a friendly amendment.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye, Arthur.
I Hamilton.
I Scriver.
I would still like to see it just go away, but I Van Egmond.
I Martin. Thank you. Resolution is carried. 2 separate meetings. 10AB, Finance Report. the 2024 budget schedule from the Cow Report Finance 1023. Resolution reads, be it resolved that council approve the 2024 budgeting schedule as set out in the attached Schedule A. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Move Scriver.
Second Hamilton.
Any further discussion? Comment? All in favor?
Hi, Arthur.
I Hamilton.
I Scriver.
Van Egmond, I.
Martin, I. The resolution is carried. 10AC, Parks and Recreation and Facilities. Committee of the Whole Report, Recreation 3223. And that means Recreation had 32 reports thus far in 2023. The resolution reads, be it resolved that council approve the attached free facility request form, which would result in a mobile pet supply bus on the fourth Wednesday of every month from 12 p.m. until 4 p.m. in the parking lot of the Keeler Center in Colborne, and that the applicant be required to provide insurance listing the township as additionally insured. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Move Scriver.
Second Hamilton.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Hi, Arthur.
I Hamilton.
I Scriver.
Van Egmond, I.
Martin, I. The resolution is carried. Item 11 on the agenda, reports of municipal officers. 11A, water and wastewater rates reminder, finance report 1123. Resolution reads, be it resolved that council receive this report for information and that as per the previously approved rate study, 2024 rates will be effective as of January 1st, 2024. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Move Scriver.
Second Van Egmond.
Any comments? Deputy Mayor Arthur?
Thank you through you, Mayor Martin. I just, in your concluding comments that no further bylaws come forward, I still think this should come as an annual thing to us. It's a reminder to the residents. I mean, not that we have a lot, but some that zoom in, it is conversations. We are being open, transparent. Our waste studies does it. It has that 5-year, but I still believe that that quick little work should come forward every year.
Yes, we can bring a report every year as a reminder and to let the public know that the rates would be changing. I think the purpose of this report was to just say that that study was already approved, the rates were already have been approved. So there's no bylaw required as per se, but we can definitely bring a report on an annual basis every time the report, their rates are changing. Thank you.
Any further comments? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Councillor Scriver.
Through you, Madam Mayor to Madam Treasurer, was there anything else, Rubab, you wanted to add with respect to that report at all?
All. Yeah, so I can just elaborate that council approved a 5-year rate study report for the water and wastewater rates. And that's what you see attached on Schedule A. So there's the one report provides you with the rates for the water, and the other one provides you with the rates for the wastewater. Now the rates are broken. There is a default charge per meter. So if you have a 15-inch meter, let's say in 2024, the rate is changing from 24.21 to 25. That is going to be a basic charge. And then if you keep coming down the list, you see a per cubic meter rate, which is going from $2.42 to $2.55. So those are the changes that you'll see on the water side. And then there's changes on the wastewater that follow. It's on Schedule A. I'm looking at the water, it's up on the screen right there. If you can just make it bigger. So there's different meter sizes provided on the first column. So you see the 15-inch, the 20-inch, the 25. So if you look at the 15-inch and you look at the rate for 2023, it's $24.21 right now. It's going to $25 in 2024, effective January 1st. And if we look at the very bottom last line right there, that's your per cubic meter rate, which is changing from $2.42 to $2.55. And same idea for the wastewater. If that helps, you're welcome. Thank you.
Any further comments or
Thanks,
discussion?
Bab. Want to encourage your public speaking.
Any further comments, discussion? All in favor?
Hi, Arthur.
I, Hamilton.
Aye, Scriver.
Benigman, aye.
Martin, aye. The resolution is carried. 11B, Public Works Transportation, 1223, the financial needs for road construction. Resolution reads, be it resolved that council receive this report for information and that council consider the financial needs for road improvements. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? And then there can be discussion.
Moved Benigman.
Second, Hamilton.
Okay. So this is the results from our roads needs study done by Tatum Engineering. So in preparation for the 2024 road construction budget, staff have reviewed the draft copy of the roads needs study completed in 2023 to determine the priorities and costs for the ongoing projects. Road needs studies should happen every 5 years to ensure accurate condition assessments. The township last needs study was completed in 2017. Budget and priorities utilize information from these studies to gather costs and determine priorities. Staff also uses asset management plan to coincide the information from these studies. Our last AMP was completed in 2022 using the 2017 roads needs study and the 2021 construction price index. Since these plans and studies are conducted every 5 years, there are price gaps on replacement costs when projecting for 5 to 10-year plans. Inflation has caused supply prices to increase significantly, which is a major component to the increase in the budget. The roads needs study looks at all the road sections and provides condition ratings with costs for full reconstruction, resurfacing, pulverizing, and widening, ditching and gravel lifts. Priority for improvements is established by looking at the improvement needs, traffic volumes, and associated costs based on the benefit value improvement, giving the most benefit for dollars spent. Other factors that drive priority are external pressures, continuity of construction, and funding available. The roads needs study also outlines when these events need to happen. Now, 1 to 5 years or 6 to 10 years. Staff have not attached the draft roads needs study as it is being reviewed for final approval. As per the draft road needs study that Tatum Engineering completed in 2023, 349 road sections were inspected, and of these examined, 143 road sections warrant improvements, 41%, amounting to 98.3 kilometers of roads with a total improvement value of 24.5 million. The engineers met with staff to discuss the improvements that need to be completed to the road sections. This work will mostly consist of pulverizing and resurfacing roads with ditch rehabilitation. Due to the lack of maintenance, ditching and road work, proper projected funding resources, inflation, and outdated studies over the years, 41% of our roads are needing priority work accomplished within the timing schedule mentioned above. It is legislated that the township set levels of service for assets. Roads being one of the biggest assets within the municipalities will have the most demand for levels of service to be maintained. Financial implications. With a 10-year period and to bring our roads to a fair or good condition, we require 2.5 million per year as per the draft roads needs study. This figure will grow if improvements are not completed within the recommended time span. The increase from approximately 1 million in the past budgets will now need to be addressed and reflect a recommended 2.5 million. Staff is requesting an increase to the budget for 2024 to start improving some of the 143 road sections listed on the draft roads needs study. Thank you.
Kaboom! Thank you. Questions, comments? Counselor Schreiber.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Mr. Kelly and Mr. Gilligan. Just curious, I'm excited to see the report. When is it going to be ready? And did you guys think you got good value for money for having that work done? Do you agree with a lot of the findings?
Yeah, I think it was invaluable for Tatham Engineering to do that. You can relax. We're not looking for $2.5 million this year. Well, the reality is we know it's not there. There is an increase in the, there will be looking for an increase slightly in the, the transportation construction budget, but it's not $2.5 million. We understand that. It's just to let council know the situation we're in, the public to know what's ahead of us and what has to be done. But definitely going over and actually going through the asset management plan along with the roads need study, both indicate the same findings, and going forward, it's just a matter of what we can afford. And it's just an update for council to see what's ahead of us.
My comment would be that this number is probably way out because it's probably a lot more than this. Because when they do check do the roads need study, it's all based on surface. So therefore, in the village, the problems that we have in the surface of the road is caused by the infrastructure underneath. So to improve the surface of the road, first you got to repair what's underneath the road. So even the assessment done on the rural roads, they're looking at surface. So they don't look at what's underneath the ground, and that's where everything starts. So in town, for example, like, if your road's all cracked and broke up and whatever, well, it's 99.9% of the time, the problem is what's underneath. You got a bad catch basin or a bad sewer main or a bad storm sewer. So with fixing the surface, it ties into what's actually underneath it. So this number here is telling us what we need to resurface, but we've got bigger issues underneath the ground.
So as a follow-up, and my last question, did they give you any sort of prioritization in terms of how they would approach rehabilitation, or is it more of a widespread report?
Well, of course, in this report, they just base it off traffic, how many houses are on the road, so on and so on. But again, it comes back to with everything changing, like we have different priorities. So, only a staff or council can see the future that we're moving into. So we would have to have a good look at this roads needs study and decide, amongst council and staff recommendations, which way we actually need to go. But this engineering firm was excellent. They came down and I spent a lot of time with the guy that did the study, and we went over a lot of things that he took into, he looked into.
Also, Councillor Schreiber, they did give a priority list with that going forward, and the roads that we'll be looking at will be on the 1 to 5 year list going forward. So there is a priority list that's given with them.
Deputy Mayor Arthur.
So if I may, through you to Phil and Tim, just refresh my memory. What was the cost of the study? I can't remember what we had budgeted for. And just to follow up on Joel's question, when are we going to receive the report?
We had budgeted, there was $30,000 towards the study. We will be under that, I believe, with the Tatham for it. The final draft will be early in the new year. It's actually just being finalized with them going forward, Sandra.
I think this is what we've inherited. Over 20 years of roads being ignored. as if they go away. So unfortunately, roads have traditionally in any kind of government situation, and I know this from the county level as well, that's the budget that people go and cut if they need it for something else. And I think this is what we're inheriting. I think all you have to do is look at some of the ditches that are throughout this area, and it might as well be a forest. It's not a ditch, and they have to be cleared and taken care of. I commend the staff, the roads crew and so on. I think they've done incredible work, especially this past year, being very innovative, adapting and rethinking thinking outside the box in terms of use of equipment and even the purchasing of certain types of equipment so that there's more than one use. And I think this is the approach that's being taken now. How much can we do ourselves? Can we do it innovatively to save money? But the fact of the matter is that the raw goods making a road, the costs have gone astronomically. Last year in 2023, the construction price index was over 21%, which means that's what the cost of raw items went up post-COVID. This year, we're looking a little better. The construction price index is probably down about between 4 and 5.4%. But that's 4.5% on 21% last year. So, you can play the figures any way you like. It's more expensive. I think we have a challenge. But we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Keep at it. We can't do it all at once, obviously. And I think that the province needs to step it up. We need to have assistance one way or the other. Everything was downloaded throughout the 90s and early 2000s so that costs that we've assumed, not only for roads, but for health services, for social housing, etc. And I don't know whether people are aware of this, but only 9 cents of every tax dollar actually goes to the municipal coffer. We are collecting dollars for education, for county, health, whatever, federal. Only 9 cents of every tax dollar you pay is actually coming to us. That's an inequitable relationship. That's our challenge. But we live with it. So I think one way or the other, we're going to make it work. There have been very innovative equipment purchases this year, saved many thousands of dollars. The fact that we put Tatham on a 3-year contract, they are our engineer. We're not spending, not yet. Oops, RFP. But the process is going to be to establish our own engineering consultancy so that we're not spending top dollar for every other consultant out there. We're cutting costs where we can. We're doing as much as we can within our own resources and our own talents. And I think it's been proven that we have the capability. Do we have enough staff? No. We have to think innovatively. This is our reality. And this is what we face. And we're not alone. Many other municipalities are in the same boat, but I think we are ahead of the game because of the staff we have and the approaches that we're taking. Doesn't make it any less or any more palatable, but there we go. I have more confidence than many other municipalities in our capabilities. Thank you. Councillor Van Egmond.
If I may, I always enjoy Phil's cheery little uplifting speeches. Having said that, the accomplishments we've done in the last year with the money that we've been using, I have no problem thinking that they'll figure it out. Just give them the wheels, give them the presence of mind that he is allowed to go ahead and make the necessary moves. Best dollars will be spent, so I have no problem.
I would like to comment on one thing though, like, from what I'm seeing in this meeting tonight, and no disrespect towards anyone, but like as far as the boat launch in Little Lake, it really, I take it and I see what's happening there, which is, you know, definitely something that needs to be looked into, but I think of how these roads for the last 20 years, you know, we're basically we have 7 meters of lane and we are reclaiming 25 meters of that. But the input that's been put into the boat launch out there, I wish we had that turnout for, you know, like, and again, these roads have been neglected for years and years and years. And I don't think people really understand or realize that that is everything that we have. Without roads, you have nothing. And I just really wish we could have some meetings where, you know, moving forward, how we're gonna try and do things, save money, be innovative, that we get the public support. And you know, anyone's got any good ideas, it's if you can bring positive things to us, then let's hear it, because it's always good to hear. And there's got to be new ideas out there. It's there's, you know, and like last year we spent $800,000 on surface treatment, and you know, we can't keep doing this. We need to be and think of different ways, better ideas, and just and it's going to be cost, but anything we do spend money on is hugely cost effective, because we see that we're not going back to them roads and repairing, but the ditching that we're doing, it's, you know, for example, on Elgin Street, like I've watched that road for years, and you go up there now and the water that's flowing, and it's just, yeah, we're making a lot of headway here, and I just hope council supports us to move on with it. Thank you.
CEO Clerk Holly Grant.
I support Phil on his comment. If we had the amount of support that we do for items that may or may not be important to most, and that's all individual, that's people's reality and what they're interested in. Whether we lay a pipe here or a road, it costs the same here as it does in Toronto, as it does in Montreal, as it does anywhere in Ontario. We are a population of less than 6,200, feeding into over 222 plus kilometer of roads. So when we do get questions and comments, which I think are very admirable from Dave Forsyth, of those types of things, challenging council on reality is 2.5 million, and yeah, don't increase our taxes. So what is the reality and what are we looking at? Because that pipe costs the same, or roadway, anywhere as it's going to here, and we have less people paying for it. So without the staff that we have being innovative and trying to push every dollar we have and save, and I challenge the public to come out, be part of the budget process, understand how it works, because the municipality is a whole separate animal than it is of the private. We are bound by so much legislation, red tape. There are so many things that we have to be held accountable for, audited for. I wish that there was a Cayman Islands that we all went to and that's where it was being vetoed to. Wouldn't that be great? But it's not. And majority of your employees live here. We pay taxes too. So you know what? We do have the best interest at heart of pushing things forward and making sure that every dollar is accounted for, that we are, you know, making sure that it goes where it needs to be. And that budget is approved by council. So that's what's laid down. So if you have questions or concerns on where it's going, we need more of the public to feed into that and be part of it and asking questions. And yeah.
If I could just touch on that too, Holly, yeah, for example, the promenade, you know, like what we involved there, like, and how we, you know, got it done and whatever. Like I've said numerous times, 25 years ago, there would have been 100 people there to volunteer. You know what I mean? And help. Not one did I see this whole summer there from the public or anywhere to, you know, offer anything that is positive to us. Lots of negativity, 100%, but again, I challenge all of the people in this community to bring forward, you know, good ideas, and we'll be very receptive to it. I'd enjoy it very much.
Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a comment, and it sort of picks up on something that you said earlier, Mandy, about how much of the tax dollar ends up in the municipalities. When you look at the fact that 80% of the roads in the province belong to municipalities, So you've got a provincial government that's got coffers overflowing. Maybe not, but they certainly are taking a huge chunk of our tax dollar, and they literally are only responsible for 20% of the roads in the province. I wonder if the municipalities are all aware of that, and if there's any interest in upward pressure to find out if some of that money could be redistributed back to the people who actually paid it. That's my comment.
Thank you, Sherry. And again, the best part of what I enjoy about my job is I know everything we do is cost effective, and it's going to cost us money initially, but down the road, it's going to save money, like fixing potholes or, putting that money into coal patch or going out there and taking a berm off. But if now we have 14 kilometers of road, that is our base to start from, that I feel that have been ditch property, culverts and everything. So we move from here, and it all ties into your asset management and everything. But again, through asset management, we have to look at different, aspects of it, like our thresholds for, because you can look at this roads needs study and you'll see, for example, a kilometer of road that might be 600,000 to repair. But you might see another section that's 200 meters, that's 1.2 million. Well, it all matters what's in that section. In 200 meters, it could be 25 culverts or a cement bridge or guardrails, whatever. And that's the problem that I see with the asset management is our thresholds are all the same on every section of road. So every section of road is different. So we need to look at different areas of that also, because every section of road is different. And when you go from intersection to intersection, you might have 300 meters from one intersection to the next, but the next area could be 3 kilometers long. So that's going to meet a different threshold than what the 200 meters is. So we're working towards changing a lot of things, and I think it's going to be a lot better for us in the future.
Thank you. Any further comments? All in favor of receiving this report?
Hi, Arthur.
Hi, Hamilton.
Hi, Scriver.
Van Egmond, aye.
Martin, aye. Report is received. Resolution carries. 12 on the agenda, bylaws. 12A, bylaw 2023-63, D14, Dodge 0523 zoning bylaw amendment, 2133 Spring Street, bylaw 2023-63. Be it resolved that council approve bylaw 2023 under the provisions of sections 34 and 36 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to amend bylaw number 0818, the comprehensive zoning bylaw of the Township of Crammy, D14, Dodge 0523, 2133 Spring Street, be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed and entered into the bylaw book. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Move, Scriver.
Second, Hamilton.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Hi, Arthur.
Hi, Hamilton.
Hi, Scriver.
Van Egmond, aye.
Martin, aye. Eastfield's pre-servicing agreement authorization. Resolution reads, be it resolved that council approve bylaw 2023-64 being a bylaw to authorize the execution of the pre-servicing agreement between 285-2243 Ontario Inc. and the Township of Crammy. Be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed and entered into the bylaw book. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Moved, Hamilton.
Second, Scriver.
Any discussion, comment? Deputy Mayor Arthur?
Thank you. And if I may, I don't know who's going to review this. Is this different to some of the ones that we've had in the past? Because when I look at this, I don't ever remember the municipal engineer shall mean our manager of operations, that we're putting all of that pressure onto, well, in this particular case, Phil. And then also the excess soil. There's a section in here, and as I said, I wasn't able to go back and find our past one. But there's an awful lot in here that goes from including other lands that may be owned by the subdivider. So we seem to be Fidelity can do this and Fidelity can move it over to this land, Fidelity can move it back to this one. There's a whole lot within this that's I've never seen before. Maybe I just haven't read it as thorough. And I'm just concerned that, and also on the, just a minute now, also on the very last one, the regulations for construction, the dumping of fill or debris. Again, it's presently owned or conveyed to the municipality. Again, being able to move it from one site that they own to the other site. So have we done something different for this one to accommodate? Because I know recently we allowed the three severances on that property on Lake and Trent Valley. Two of them were on Little Lake and the other was on Trent Valley. Saturday when I was there, we have one heck of an entrance, large equipment. And I'm thinking, like, what is happening there in this area? That are we taking material out, moving it to another site, bringing other material in? What's happening in this site that we're not aware of?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to members of council, which, I'm sorry, we went from this to different site. I'm confused.
So when I look at this in the excess soil in number 10, if we open it up in number 10, you know, the subdivider removes, delivers excess soil to other locations, including other lands that may be owned by the subdivider. Well, the subdivider is number whatever, which I can say his name because it's there, it's Fidelity. But what I see is this is for the division or Durham Street North. But what I see is activity that's going from one property to the other. And then I see this in the excess soil. It's almost like we're allowing things to move from one, like there's gravel and that at the site on Little Lake and wherever. That's now, there's a comparison here that I'm real concerned about that I haven't seen in other ones, or at least I haven't read in other ones, that it's allowing Fidelity to move stuff from one to another. And that's a closed pit on Little Lake, right? So the quarries and mines, that's not the responsibility now. But then I see on the back on the Lower Trent Conservation for their comments, and there's comments there. So I would like to defer this one so that I have more time to review some of the things that have gone on, because I'll tell you, this has been pretty quick. And then with the activity I see on the other one on the weekend, I would really ask that this be deferred, or who is it that's monitoring all this activity that's going on?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to members of council, this goes through our legal department. This has gone through Tatham Engineering. This has gone through staff. This is multiple steps. We have never had a pre-service agreement. There wasn't one with the prior subdivision. We haven't had a lot of subdivisions. What this does is actually protects us in terms of steps. So this is step one of many agreements to come in place. So the pre-servicing is just allowing them to add the services in and to start things at this time before actual agreements come into place. Excess soil. So there's two things here. This one, moving it in between lots that they own, but it also states here that on-site and excess soil management, where the subdivider removes and delivers excess soil to another location, including other lands that may be owned by the subdivider that are not subject to a site plan agreement or subdivision, including a consent agreement registered on title, subdivider shall ensure that such excess soils is managed and off-site location. Our fill bylaw does not pertain to subdivisions or constructions on private lots that are under or have building permits. So they could technically move soil between lots already. There really isn't anything. What I'm assuming this is helping us to ensure that anything that is moved is more controlled. There is a what is it, fees, security deposit that we have put in that comes to an inclusive amount, that if anything within this isn't to this or isn't of its liking and they don't conform to it, then we have that held in trust, which believe me is a substantial amount of money that they're not willing to play around with, especially when it comes to these types of subdivision things. So it was more or less that we can come into the agreement. If there's section of the agreements that we need to review and I have to get clarification, I can do so. But this will hold up any type of servicing and things moving forward.
If I may, on section 20, is the owner agrees before commencing any on-site grading that the Lower Trent have reviewed and approved report. So do we have those?
So this would speak to the land itself. They haven't, if they're, what they're moving within there would have to have any type of permit from Lower Trent. And because there was a red line, they're very stipulated. So yeah, they'd have to have a permit for anything that moves within that already. On file, I would assume we do. They would have to get a permit from Lower Trent, so they can't move anything without it. So Lower Trent would be on them. That permit would sit with Lower Trent as far as a copy goes to us for these conditions. We've had, yeah, we've been through.
Could you comment, could you say that, please, into the microphone?
I just remember what Holly was saying there. We've had numerous meetings over the red line through that one area, and it was, I remember it went through council and everything. That's what I can remember from it.
Councillor Van Aikman and then Councillor Hamilton.
I do know that there is law that says I cannot take soil out of my field and put it on someone else's field. And I'm wondering if the same owner owns the fields, maybe it's okay to do that. I'm sure that there's going to be no movement of any soils from lot to lot without them having the go ahead to do that. And it might be prudent for us to make sure that if that is the case, that we take a look and see if we have that paperwork. But most of these things, you don't want to hold them up now. The next meeting is when? Just before Christmas? January.
This is before Christmas.
Yeah, I guess this is, we have one more though, don't we? I thought we had, oh, good. So I don't want to hold a man up if he's fully on the way to being allowed to do this anyways. But Sandra has a valid point, because I was told one time that if I take more than 5 dump trucks off of my land and put it somewhere else that's not my land, then I am contravening. I don't know, somebody must have. Roger, do you know that?
You're right there.
Not always.
We have to do that.
Township is the township is exempt from that. We are allowed to, if we are doing ditching, we're allowed to put it a certain amount.
And with the regulation, as Roger speaks, and we just did this at my day employment, and I mean, it's huge. So this soil testing, the monitor, the GHD, all of this is a requirement. And I mean, and I am in a municipality big time with that. So it's, I have to disagree with you on that, Phil.
Well, I can show you the bylaw, Sandra. Township is exempt from any ditching material. We are exempt, and we can make that judgment on what we're hauling. That's why we're able to put it in different lands.
So
No,
the
but I'm
top
just saying,
soil,
it-
the
and
top
it saves
soil,
township huge money.
time out. The process is that it goes from one property that they own to the other property that they own. Is that what I'm understanding?
According to this, that's what I'm understanding. My recommendation would be that we can amend the resolution up for the bylaw that item or section 10 excess soil and item section 20, are those the two, Sandra? Need to be reviewed on all accord, and if they are not within, we'll bring it back. If they are, then we can move forward. Meaning that if there's anything in there we need to put into those items to protect that soil transferring from one to the other has to be approved by ministry, we'll implement that into section 10, and section 20 we can further digest and make sure that we're properly covered before those agreements are signed, if that makes everybody feel better and doesn't hold it up.
Okay. Were you going to comment? Okay. Counselor Scr-
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Holly. The only other consideration I'd have in addition to that would just be that a quick red line to see if that language is consistent to past agreements that we've done. Just so that, for my own understanding, if we've been consistent or not.
Just to make you understand, it won't be like past agreements. It's more thorough. This is a first. This is more thorough.
Not as a pre-servicing. So they've broken it down in stages as opposed to coming with the full Monty at the end saying, here we go and we're doing what we want and here's the full agreement. They're starting a pre-service before the agreement comes so that they can start to put infrastructure, move things, get the land the way it's supposed to be, especially this time of year, depending on weather, so that they're in ground ready to go when it comes forward and it's approved.
So therefore, from a liability and process perspective, this is actually more consistent and better for the municipality.
Deputy Mayor Arthur.
So just one last to follow on that, Holly, and that is, before they do anything, well, any one of us that have driven or drive up Durham Street North, I mean, they have been working on that all summer long. So how have they been doing anything without a pre-service? I'm just trying to look at it myself here.
Because you're able to move land on your own land, they can make piles and move it on their own, and that's what they've been doing. So now they want to start digging deeper or putting in infrastructure or any pre-servicing to that portion or portion of. So it's also divided into subsections, right? Because the whole thing will be done. They're going to start, and there's different talk of changing even where they're going to start because of the way the economy is going. Are we going to start with the homes or are we going to start with the apartments first and maybe sort of change where it is? So they're just looking at how to pre-service the land. Moving of your own soil on that land is what they've been doing, and they're allowed to do that. So this is just bringing it the next step into line.
Counselor Hamilton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't have all the timelines straight in my head because I didn't know this was going to be an issue here tonight, but I do remember them coming to Lower Trent Conservation Authority for a hearing, and they didn't move anything until after that hearing was completed. I remember specifically because I was in that public hearing and noticed within a few days that activity was happening on the land once they were approved.
And just to go back on that whole issue, that was basically a ditch that entered off of our property that was flowing through there. And I stated that also in the meeting. It's at the end of our ditch line. So where it comes down Durham and then it goes across, it's a lot of that water comes out right out of our ditch on Durham Street North. And that's what I couldn't figure out what was the big issue was, because like I said, that's where the water comes from. Off the hill, down our ditch, and it enters and goes across.
Okay. I thought we were talking about dirt.
But the whole holdup was the red line. Yes. Yes.
Okay, understood. All right. Never mind. All in favor?
Friendly amendment that Holly's doing, yes. Aye, Arthur.
Aye, Hamilton.
Aye, Scriver.
Van Egmond, aye.
Martin, aye. Resolution is carried. 13, motions to receive council information packages. Resolution reads, be it resolved that council receive the council information packages item 13A and 13B for information from November 28th and December 11th, 2023. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Moved Van Egmond.
Second Hamilton.
Any discussion, questions? Counselor Hamilton.
At the risk of making Ed angry. I have a question. I just want to know what permit to rule means. Can anyone tell me what that means? In council information package of November 28th, there's an item in there. Is it the assessment? If no one knows the answer to this, I will find it later. 10, yes. Thank you, Sandra. It's a technical term, right?
Not worth a minute of silence.
Don't kill me. I won't ask any more questions. Just
Shall we hold that item?
No, we can just let it go. I'll find out later. I'm just a curious person. I didn't know what that meant. I thought somebody would have an answer. That's all. Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Hi, Arthur.
Hi, Hamilton.
Hi, Scriver.
Van Egmond, aye.
Aye. Thank you. Am I missing something here in terms of recognition?
No.
Can we do an introduction?
Yeah. Excuse me. Okay. Motions are, okay, county report. Can we introduce our deputy fire chief?
He's been here long.
Poor man, he's been out
He's
on the roads since 5 o'clock this morning, right? Sure. Please, Matt, fire chief, could you please introduce?
Introduce Andrew Harper is the new deputy chief for the township. He's been with the township for 15 years.
I'd like a photo taken with the two of you. Yeah, then you can go home. No, then you can go home. He's been doing the road since 5 o'clock this morning. Other duties as required? Sure. Whatever. Come forward.
No.
Thank you, Andrew.
And this is yours.
Oh, is it? Oh. Okay, which brings us to open forum. Members of the public have 3 minutes to ask general questions and are not to enter into debate. Please state your name and address for the records. Each member may speak only once. Open forum is available to any attendee and must be directed through the chair. Do we have questions? Please.
Yes.
Come forward. Oh, we have one here in the council chamber and then we will come to you. Please come forward.
Hello, my name is David Forsyth, live at 14747 Telephone Road. In regards to what Bill said about people coming out and joining in meetings, I wonder if council would like to talk about putting the national anthem at the first of every meeting. It's inclusive of everybody in Canada. It might show some solidarity within the area. And that's what we're hoping for. That's what's being asked of. So I put that in front of council if possibly. It's only a little over a minute long, but I'd ask that council maybe look at that for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take that into consideration. Any further questions?
Yes.
Pat, please.
Okay, I was waiting till the end of the meeting to get answers to my questions because I'm sort of confused at the point of sending in questions if they're not answered. But it was good. I listened to the risk assessment and I listened to the roads discussion. And I think even if I got answers to my questions, the liabilities, complaints, and budget implications of the boat launch, closing the boat launch, do not compare to the roads committee, the roads budget and roads demand. I have to ask why you're not having a public meeting about the roads as suggested. And I still agree with Councillor Van Ekman. I'm not sure why there's any need to have a public meeting about the boat launch at all. And if you're going to spend money on a public meeting that may not be necessary, give that money to the roads budget. So my question is, why are we having this meeting?
We're having the meeting because there have been concerns expressed by other ratepayers and by people and also our insurance company. So we have to do due diligence, just as we have to do road studies or the fire study, which the province edicts. So we have to do these things to show that we are paying attention and that we, for example, can say to the insurance company, yes, we're paying attention. We're doing our due diligence. So that's one reason. And I think Phil was suggesting actually he would be delighted to see if we did have a separate meeting for roads. And I think that that's possible. I think that's possible. Could do. I mean, that we have a transportation advisory committee, which is starting to kick in, and that's something that they can come forward with and recommend by all means.
So, will there be information before the meeting in January on that, so that the public knows why this meeting is happening and can make suggestions in about how to address, for example, budget implications or safety things?
Yes, by all means, there'll be notification. We will post it, etc., and circulate it. Keeping in mind that the public information is for information gathering. It isn't like we're bringing the fait accompli plan to the table. What we're doing is fact searching. So I think your questions were, you have questions about traffic, et cetera, I mean, we can look at those. Do I have the answers here? Do we have the answers here tonight? No, certainly not. I haven't accessed even to my own laptop at this point.
Right.
So, but those are all pieces of information that can be, as much as we are able to provide, can provide to you. But also,
not me, but
well, it's your question.
Right. No, but what my question was, would it be provided publicly before the meeting so that people understand the concerns and issues?
The answers to your questions?
I don't know. It's just they were The only data was in the report was and it wasn't in the report, it was in the minutes of the meeting, was the Black Cat information.
So we're still fact gathering.
Mhm.
I think the input information, so what happens is then you gather all the information and then you start to formulate a report or whatever, and then that is shared again with the
Mhm.
public.
Yes.
But it
that's what-
won't be done piecemeal. It won't be done
And-
piecemeal.
And it won't be before the meeting.
I doubt it.
Mhm.
But yes, the clerk is just asking, Holly is asking, do you want your questions answered specifically? Oh, please, Holly, comment.
Hello, Pat. Thank you so much for submitting these. And I'm just going to give you the best that I can. The first one was basically with the Black Cat and the information gathered. So we just asked the bylaw enforcement officer to put it on the road. I mean, the variables are going to differ. It doesn't matter day of the week. We tried to go in July at peak. Yes, there could be construction, there could be other things. But I think what we need to take into consideration, Pat, at this point is that traffic is traffic. We're not trying to correlate what is just strictly there for the boat access as well as the swimming area. The fact is that this is a heavy traffic area in July. We have no parking restrictions. It's kind of mayhem out there of where people want to park. There's no regulation surrounding it. So when you have those traffic flows, we have to take in consideration with our insurance, liability, complaints that are there of children running in and out of traffic, people backing into each other. It all becomes a liability in itself to the municipality. Could it be better correlated? Could we put it out at different times? Definitely suggestion. Yes, definitely we could do that. We just had this information at the time. Your second question were complaints to township. How many do we have? I believe when I looked into it, there were 10 in a matter of 2 years. My also comment to this would be whether it's one complaint or 550,000 complaints, each one has to be taken into consideration. One complaint out of 8 years, depending on how much it warrants a term of liability or what needs to be addressed, is just as important as 150 of them. But the 10 that we did get were pertaining to all types of things, swimming area, to the beach, to the boat launch itself, to parking. There wasn't one specific. Majority of them were chaos complete and that somebody's going to get hurt is the main concern. You've got sort of an animal here. We've got a lot of different variables playing into it and they all are in the same common area. It would be nice if the boat launch was across the lake, might take away some of the issues. I don't know. But right now we have this animal sort of breeding there where we've got all these different things. And when they come together, they create the perfect storm, the perfect issue for something terrible to happen. And how do we take this and sort of dial it back and make it the best that it can? Maybe it isn't nothing. But at least, as Mandy had said before, Mayor Martin, we need to address the concerns. We need to address the liability that's there in some aspect. At what cost to the township associated with the operation of the boat launch now? I do not have those for you. I do know that it is in disrepair. I can guarantee that if we were to put it in the budget to bring it to what it needs to be, it's not going to be cheap. Additional signage is a much cheaper option than any of the above. And I think that that is just sort of a given. And then what is the urgency to consult the public in January for the summer issues? Because this is going to be the issue this summer and God forbid somebody get hurt or something happens. So we're trying to be as proactive as we can to jump on it now. I don't know if you caught it, Pat, but council has agreed that we do 2 meetings. One will be online virtual, the other in person, to gather as much information we can about what you, the public, feel needs to be done so that council can make the best educated, related decision in terms of do nothing, move forward, A, B, C, and D, whatever that sort of outcome comes to. I hope I've addressed everything, Pat.
Yes, definitely. The complaints were about the whole area. So the meeting is about the whole area, the beach, and about both the beach and the property and the traffic issues going past that, right? And it took 6 months from June to December, and yet we need to have the meeting in 2 months, well, a month and a half, to prepare for it. If there would have been a lot more time if, and there wasn't any consultation with anybody over the summer. So it's just, is it for budget implications that it has to be in January?
I think certainly it's a part of the factor, but also this is not the first time that this issue has come forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it keeps recurring. Also, when your insurance company, somebody asked how much is insurance implications. I can tell you that our insurance bill last year was $365,000 for the municipality, which was down from about 500,000 the year before because we went local. Please note.
Mm-hmm.
So the insurance rates are probably going to go up this year, no doubt. Doesn't everything. But the liability is such that you don't mess with it. It's like having $1 million settlement is not unusual these days for anything. So
Yeah.
these are things that we have to show that we're doing due diligence for and guard against.
Okay, so, and my only concern is restricting public access to the boat launch. So that's,
Then that is your concern and you can bring it to the public meeting. And I think you can register it now. We're hearing you, but now is
Mhm.
not the forum.
Yeah.
The forum will be at the public meeting,
okay, so.
either or both, whichever you choose, or both, if you
Right.
choose to attend.
Okay, good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Are there any further questions or comments? We move to the confirming bylaw 2023-62. Resolution reads, be it resolved that council approve bylaw 2023-62, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the corporation of the Township of Crammy Council meeting held on December 19th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and entered into the bylaw book. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please?
Moved Arthur.
Second Hamilton.
All in favor?
Aye, Arthur.
I Hamilton.
I Scriver.
Van Egmond, aye.
Martin, aye. Resolution,
Motion to adjourn.
is there a seconder?
Second Hamilton.
Favor. Thank you. Thank you all. Oh, Merry Christmas, by the way. Merry Christmas.